Oh man, remember Vacant? What a good map. I've been thinking about something recently when it comes to nostalgia with video games specifically, and I think this probably applies to all forms of nostalgia and every form of media, I guess, or entertainment, luxury, whatever that we associate nostalgia with. But it's really interesting to look at nostalgia in application to video games, because it's really about getting transported back to a time or a place that you used to be. And that may sound dumb, that's what all nostalgia is. But you think about, like, if I get nostalgic for the old house I used to live in, or the old neighborhood, or the school I went to, I'm thinking about that place and the people directly. But when I get nostalgic for the video game, a lot of people get really wrapped up in that specific focus of the nostalgia. They think that the games are better than they are now, which in some cases is true, is not, user preferences, blah, blah, blah. But they get really focused on the object of the nostalgia rather than the source of it. So, for example, I've been watching through, as I do on an annual basis, some classic CNanners Call of Duty commentaries, and one of the ones that I got recommended on this channel was one from Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which is a newer one. It was from 2016, after Nanners kind of made a brief little comeback into the commentary scene. And I remember just being so overjoyed that one of the people who got me into YouTube was doing this classic format again. And suddenly I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, even for this newer Call of Duty, one that I put far less time into, and for this commentary that I've only watched once or twice compared to some of the older ones that I've watched over and over and over, I still feel nostalgic. And then I looked down and I looked at the date and I realized why. This commentary was released on April 16th or 17th, 2016. 2016 was not all that long ago, but for me, personally, in my life, it was. April of 2016, I was living in my first apartment, had just moved in, so I'd probably been living there maybe 6 months. Living on my own for the first time, with my now wife starting to live with me. We had just brought in one of their cats as well. Like, my entire life had just changed. I had just started out my own kind of streak of independence, doing this kind of YouTube online work. I was still working for MCN at the time, but you know, mostly self-employed freelance kind of work. And it was such a monumental point in my life, and it was so great to have something that was such a, I guess, a comfort and a reliable kind of thing that I relied on going through high school and college that had kind of gone away for a bit. To have that come back just meant so much to me. But not just that. While that sounds like the start of my life today, granted, 2016 is now 6 years ago. That is incredibly hard to to process. Oh, okay. Teared up for that one. 2016 was 6 years ago now. And so while it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, especially in terms of the modernization of like streaming and YouTube, and the first apocalypse was about to hit and whatever, my life was so different. I have since lived in 2 other apartments and now a house. We bought a house last year, or actually 2 years ago almost now, a year and a half ago. My life was so incredibly different, even though it was following a big monumental shift in my life. And so these are kind of the perfect storm moments where things can really matter to you a lot. Like, there are people out there who attach nostalgia to basically anything and everything they enjoyed at a point in time, and that's fine, that's cool. That's the whole 90s kid, everything is nostalgic thing. I get some of that. But for things that really, like, pluck at my nostalgic strings and really, like, get my heart going, it is games and situations that bring back these memories of super important periods of my life. So we've talked about Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 being, you know, big pivotal moments in my high school career where I was really getting into gaming and starting YouTube and things like that. But I don't have a ton of nostalgia for a lot of other games around that period. The only other games that really bring it back jump even older than that, to when I was actually a kid, when we're talking like Unreal Tournament and OG Pokemon Gen 2 and old school RuneScape before it was old school. Like those kinds of older games that were important parts at milestone points during my younger childhood. But for newer games, I don't have a whole lot of it. And it was so weird to have experienced this feeling of, oh my god, am I nostalgic for Black Ops 3? Do I need to go install that and start playing it because I need those nostalgic feelings? When realistically, like, yeah, I kind of miss it a little bit. It was the last major Call of Duty release that I was, like, heavily into in terms of new ones. But it wasn't it's not the game that matters. Like I said, everyone gets super obsessed over the object of the nostalgia rather than the true source. It's not Call of Duty Black Ops 3 that I'm nostalgic for. It's the transition streams that I was able to do when I was first streaming Black Ops 3 when it released while I was still living with my parents, followed by the next 6 months or so of gameplay that I was given from it, playing it in my first apartment and seeing this commentary after having moved out on my own, and that sense of wonder and excitement and a little bit of, you know, fright in terms of moving out on my own and doing my own thing and paving my own path as an adult, as an independent citizen. I miss a lot of that. I miss the small, kind of cozy nature of our first apartment, and as I was figuring out a true YouTube workflow of streaming all the time because I didn't know what else to do with my time. We just streamed Destiny and Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Rocket League, and living with someone else other than my parents and family for the first time, and bringing in my own pet, which I was solely responsible for. Like all these new, exciting feelings about discovering the world. These are the things that I'm nostalgic for when I watch videos like this. It's these kinds of periods, these eras, the people I'm with, the things I'm doing, not so much the game. And admittedly, like, nostalgia is a driving force behind enjoying games. Like, I still adore Pokemon and the older Pokemon games, and I have a ton of nostalgia for them. I also still enjoy playing a lot of these games, like Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4. I still play these games regularly. I don't still play Black Ops 3 regularly. I might still enjoy it if I go back, but I think that's a very important distinction, and I don't say this in a means of like trying to dunk on anyone's parade. It's not my objective to be like, you're doing nostalgia wrong and you're not allowed to experience it that way, because I don't think that's true. I don't think that's helpful for anyone. My point in sharing this is that I think you're able to appreciate nostalgia more and actually get more out of it in terms of the therapeutic qualities or the actual like appreciation for the past if you take a moment to actually look at like what caused the nostalgia within you, like, or that feeling when you encountered the thing. Like when I sat down and got recommended this video and wanted to watch a commentary of Black Ops 3, my brain immediately jumps to, holy crap, am I nostalgic for Black Ops 3? Do I need to start playing it? But that's not the answer. The answer is that I'm nostalgic for the first apartment vibes, for living on my own for the first time and those things. And I can then indulge that feeling of nostalgia, not by playing this game, which I'm probably not going to enjoy very much, or probably doesn't have a big player base anymore, but by looking back at other similar experiences or relics of that era that I can then look back upon and continue to kind of press that dopamine button or what have you of enjoying nostalgia for that same period. And I think that is extremely beneficial if you really want to kind of, I guess it's weird to sound like I'm trying to teach you how to like min-max nostalgia, because that's obviously not how it works, but just, especially since that nostalgia is something that this channel is going to be greatly focused on. I really want to hone in what I'm talking about when we talk about nostalgia on this channel, because a lot of it comes down to, yes, the games, and we're going to talk about a lot of games. That's the whole point of the channel. But the reason I care so much about the game is not always the game itself. And I was memeing on it with my Halo 3 title, because I saw a lot of TikToks of people like watching streams of the final hour of Halo 3 or whatever, and then tearing up, and their partners being like, you're crying over Halo, what the heck, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not so much the game itself, especially since, again, the game is still available. It's mourning the loss of that period of your life if you enjoyed it. That's why some people don't have nostalgia for things, because that period of their life was kind of crappy, or maybe it was an escapism for them and they mourn the loss of that kind of feeling of safety and escape that they got from those kinds of feelings, whereas now they're kind of forced to face them and deal with them. It's all about mourning what was, even if you still appreciate what you have. I wonder if a lot of people get confused that you can still mourn the loss of something in your past while still appreciating that things are better now, or that things are just fine now. Like it's really interesting. And I think a lot of people, especially on the internet now, that, you know, nostalgia is such a common trope or idea. A lot of people struggle to come to terms with the whole inner child thing, or referencing back to older times. And you even think to, you know, all the talk about boomers and the alleged times that they are nostalgic for being problematic or whatever. Like, it's not always about that. And part of that is the reason why you don't want to push for everyone to just rush into these, you know, nostalgic times. Like, I don't want to, as much as I love 90s tech or 90s things or a lot of aspect about the 90s or these older games, I don't want to run back to 2007 and be back in high school playing these games. High school, a lot of high school wasn't great. Being in school in general wasn't great. Like, I'm way better off now. I'd rather be the much more stable and well-adjusted and grown-up human being that I am now. I just miss some of those feelings and some of those times. And I think once you truly identify what the source of your nostalgia is, you're far, far more able to actually handle it properly. Because if you don't identify the source of the nostalgia and you continue to try and indulge it based on the objects of that nostalgia being confused why you can't recreate those feelings, you're gonna miss out on the feelings that you're getting now. Because that's the whole trope of, like, you know, Andy from The Office, I wish they had a way to tell you you're in the good times before the good times are gone. There's obviously exceptions, but like there's frequently good times to be had in the time you're in, even if you look back and think, wow, those were really good times. You don't want to miss those by spending too much time obsessing on trying to recreate the old times. And that is a hard lesson I think I've had to learn over the years, especially as my gaming time has dwindled compared to high school and college. And my social time has kind of been divided up. There's a lot to learn there, but I think it's important that we work on this as individuals, as human beings, because otherwise you're just going to keep making yourself sad and continuing to mourn something that you don't even understand, when in reality you could potentially recreate it or make yourself feel better about it much more quickly and easily. Anyway, those are my thoughts on nostalgia for today. I don't know if they made any sense, but wanted to share them with some awesome Call of Duty Vacant gameplay I got. It's not some of my top tier gameplay that I've gotten recently, but I don't get to play Vacant a lot. It was one of my favorite maps of COD 4. Just wanted to share it. What's your favorite map? What do you have thoughts about nostalgia? Let me know in the comment section down below. It would mean the world to me if you could hit the like button or give this channel a subscribe with the subscribe button. Would mean a lot. If you're looking for something else to watch and you missed them, I have a whole video diving in on playing Call of Duty 4 in 2022 and what that experience is like and how you can get the best experience for yourself, as well as me saying goodbye to Halo 3 on the Xbox 360. Thank you so much for watching Lost Saves. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Remember, be kind, rewind.